There is an invisible force that sustains all of existence. You can call it God, nature, the universe. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that this force never makes mistakes. It doesn't create anything halfway. It doesn't make errors. And this includes you. From the moment you were born, you came into the world complete. But at some point along the journey, the mind started to create concepts, expectations, desires. Society whispers in your ear that for your life to have value, you need to achieve certain things: success, money, status, material possessions. They say that without this, your existence isn't full. But what if all of this is just an illusion? A construction that pulls us away from the truth? Think about the last 5 or 10 years of your life. Do you notice any patterns? Maybe a constant search for something that, once achieved, quickly loses its shine. A new phone, a more powerful car, a bigger house. Every time we achieve something, the satisfaction lasts for only a short time. A new desire emerges, a new goal, and the feeling of emptiness returns. Why? What are we really searching for? What lies behind this endless race? This relentless pursuit of more money, more status, more validation, is an endless cycle. With every new achievement, a new desire arises. One goal is reached, but the satisfaction it brings quickly fades, replaced by a new goal, a new desire, a new illusion that now we will be complete. Have you noticed how this works? Think about the first time you had a phone. At that moment, it was enough. The novelty, the excitement of holding it in your hands, the joy of exploring every feature. But it didn't take long for a newer model to emerge. Bigger screen, better camera, faster, prettier. And suddenly, that phone, which once seemed amazing, became outdated. The same happens with clothes, cars, houses, even relationships. There's always a next level. There's always something better. But why do we feel this insatiable need? Why does contentment always seem to be in the future, never in the present? The answer lies in the way we've been conditioned to view life. From an early age, we learn that a person's value is directly tied to what they own, to what they show the world. Advertisements tell us that we need that car to be respected, those clothes to be admired, that trip to show that we have an exciting life. The system we live in doesn't want you to feel complete, because a satisfied person doesn't consume compulsively, doesn't compare themselves, doesn't feel inferior. Modern society has perfected the art of comparison. In the past, humans compared themselves only to their small community. Today, with social media, we're exposed to a global showcase of ostentation and perfection. People who seem to have it all: exotic trips, sculpted bodies, fairy tale relationships. Each photo, each video, carefully edited to portray an idealized reality. The problem? The brain doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is staged. It simply absorbs the information and concludes, my life isn't as good as theirs. 20 years ago, you didn't know how many friends someone had. Now you can see the exact number of followers, likes, and comments. Suddenly, your self-esteem is measured by digital metrics. The number of views becomes a reflection of your worth. The amount of interactions defines your relevance. And so, without realizing it, you get caught up in a numbers game, a relentless, invisible competition that drains you, exhausts you, and never ends. And the scariest part? You know this race leads nowhere, but you keep running, because everyone else is running. Because stopping means falling behind. But falling behind in relation to what? To an unattainable standard? To a happiness that never arrives? So how do you break free from this cycle without losing your purpose? How do you escape this trap without giving up on your dreams? The answer lies in realization. True awakening doesn't happen when you achieve everything you desire, but when you realize that none of that defines your essence. Let's flip the logic. Imagine that, right now, I grant you everything you want. the dream house, the most luxurious car, an infinite number of followers. You have it all. There is nothing left to achieve. But there's one condition. You cannot attach yourself to any of it. Can you do it? Can you live in abundance without identifying with it? Because owning material things isn't the problem. The problem arises when your happiness becomes hostage to them, when your identity blends with what you own, when you feel that you need these things to feel complete. But do you really need them? If your happiness depends on something external, it will never truly be yours. Many people realized this truth painfully during the social isolation of the pandemic. Everything they had built, routines, gatherings, status, was interrupted all at once. What was left? Some people fell into depression because the foundation upon which they had built their identity crumbled. Others woke up to a powerful truth. We cannot base our peace on circumstances that are beyond our control. If your happiness is tied to the outside world, it will never be solid. If the government decides that you can't leave your house, does your happiness end? If you lose money, does your peace disappear? If someone stops admiring you, does your self-esteem vanish? If your answer is yes, then your freedom isn't real yet. And this is the greatest trap of life. It's not the external difficulties that imprison us, but rather the emotional dependence we create on the world. True freedom begins when you realize that nothing can take away what truly matters. But how do you reach this state? How do you live in this balance without abandoning your desires? The first step is to see attachment for what it truly is, an illusion. Attachment makes you confuse yourself with what you possess. You are not your job, you are not your car, you are not your status. All of these are just temporary circumstances of your existence. When you understand this truth, your relationship with the world changes completely. You can continue desiring good things, but without your peace depending on them. You can continue seeking growth, but without it defining your worth. And then a paradox arises. The less you cling, the more fulfilled you become. Life stops being a frantic race and becomes an experience of presence. You stop living in the almost there and start realizing that everything you've always searched for was already inside of you. True happiness has never been in the future. It has always been in the now. So the next time you feel that you need something to be happy, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, if I am already whole, why do I believe that something is missing? And observe the response that arises within you. Because when you truly understand this truth, life changes. You don't stop dreaming. You don't stop wanting to grow, but you stop suffering. Because you realize that no matter what happens, you have always been and always will be enough. And this is true peace. The key to true freedom is not in eliminating desires, but in not being enslaved by them. The problem was never wanting something. It was believing that your happiness depends on it. So, how do you change this mindset? How do you live in the world without getting lost in it? The answer lies in awareness. When you desire something, ask yourself, do I really need this to be happy, or have I been conditioned to believe that I do? Observe your thoughts without getting swept away by them. Notice the patterns repeating and understand that satisfaction based on external achievements is always temporary. You can have a luxury car, a huge house, a comfortable life. None of that is wrong, but the essential question is, if all of that disappeared tomorrow, who would you be? If the answer is emptiness, then it's time to reevaluate where you've placed your happiness. The world taught you that your life should follow a script: study, work, achieve, accumulate. But the truth is that existence itself is already the greatest gift. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You were born complete. This doesn't mean you should abandon your ambitions. It simply means that your peace shouldn't depend on them. So the next time you feel like you need something to be happy, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, If I'm already complete, why do I believe I'm lacking something? The answer could change your life. And in the end, when you stop chasing the illusion of completeness, you'll realize that everything you were searching for has always been inside you. Freedom isn't in what you possess. It's in what you can let go of without fear.